So welcome, Amanda. It's a pleasure e-meeting with you. We're thrilled to have you on Expert Talks with us.
Thanks for having me, Holly. Really excited to join you and share a little bit more about what we do.
Definitely. Now, the first question I have for you is that you've succeeded in making the waste pipe infrastructure management easier, much more than ever before. How do you see VAPAR transforming the infrastructure management space?
So I think for a long time we've been gathering a lot of data about our wastewater assets, but unfortunately it's kind of been locked away in either repositories, in USBs and DVDs and databases, or it's been locked away in the RGB pixels of videos and images and things like that really tell us about a good story about condition. And now what we've done is basically found a key using deep learning, machine learning, to take all that data, put it in a readable format, an easy to digest format, and make it a little bit easier to derive some intelligence from that data format.
Right, and that's incredible. So I know you use AI and cloud computing services as well. What kind of technological edge does that give you?
So the AI is core to what we do. It is probably the main differentiator between our services and what other offerings are there in the market. So it's pretty important, and there's also a lot of new deep learning technology and artificial intelligence and computer vision that we incorporate into our services. But in terms of the kind of like the cloud aspect of it, I think that's really an exciting space for us because it allows us to work, all across the world. So we're not limited to a certain service stack that's in Australia or necessarily we're in the United Kingdom. And so we can leverage cloud computing to provide services wherever we want to work, which has kind of been why I've been able to come here to the UK.
Right. It sounds like it's been a huge advantage for you then.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Now, just for our unacquainted viewers, could you maybe explain how the VAPAR platform ensures reliable, consistent, and fast pipe condition assessments? And plus, how as well does it compare to maybe the traditional style of wastewater pipe infrastructure management?
Yeah. So what would ordinarily happen is a water utility or water authority would inspect sewer pipes and drainage pipes underground using cameras. Logistically, people can't actually get into the camera, so they'll put a camera down, into the pipe rather. They'll put a camera down and drive it along. And what happens at the moment is that footage is manually reviewed by engineers and operators and things. So I actually used to watch this sort of footage for 8 hours a day as my job. So it's not a great manual task to be doing. So what we do now is use software. So we've trained algorithms on millions of defect frames to show and teach a piece of software what specific defect categories look like cracking in pipes, root intrusion, so sometimes tree roots get into the pipes because they're looking for water, things like that. All those kind of defect categories, we've trained a model to watch the footage for us now.
That's incredible. It seems like it's a much more efficient way to do things.
Yes, that's where the savings kind of come, is the efficiency, but also the kind of consistency, which I think you mentioned. You get a really consistent approach to how you're assigning repairs and values to these pipes. It's not necessarily subjective. So if you tried to do a condition assessment, and I tried to do a condition assessment of a pipe, we might come up with two different repairs. So this way you get a consistent approach across. So Sydney Water has 30,000 kilometres of sewers that they kind of manage. So if you're scaling it up to that length, consistency is really important.
Right, I can imagine. I mean, that's a pretty big figure. I'm sure most people don't even think about that on the day-to-day. It's definitely important to have that consistency across the board, like you mentioned. Now, with VAPAR, do you at all see it expanding in the near term, perhaps into other type of pipe infrastructure management?
It's certainly possible. What we've built is we started in kind of drainage. We've expanded to sewer pipes. It's possible to go into other type of pipe inspections, such as drinking water and gas. The challenge would just come rather where we could get cameras into pipes. So it's definitely possible.
Right, and I suppose you must see a sort of unmet need with that, bit of a gap in the market for the different types of infrastructure.
Yeah, it's quite a common problem. So yeah, it's exciting to see that there are kind of adjacent markets that where there are opportunities, like I say.
Right, and it would be theoretically possible for you to do that again. So that could be a real possibility.
Yes, yeah. The kind of like barrier or the thing that we would need is just training data, but that's we've been able to overcome that barrier before. So it would just be access to the right customer and training data.
Well, it sounds like it's a very real possibility. And with expansion, do you have any other expansion plans in the works, perhaps geographically? As you mentioned, you're obviously moving around about the globe because of your technological advancements there, but do you have any plans for further expansion into other countries?
So we started in Australia, in Sydney, and I've just moved over to the UK. So I'm here in Bristol in the United Kingdom to kind of like work here in the UK. The advantage that gives us is kind of like two sides of the globe. So we're able to work kind of 24/7, which is really exciting, but also use the UK as a base to service Europe and the US. So definitely there's big plans to expand.
Right, and there won't be any hurdles in the way or any challenges you anticipate with that. Obviously, there's been a lot of supply chain issues and in the works with the pandemic, but is that something you see very clearly in the near term?
Definitely. There's a lot of pipe infrastructure in this part of the world, especially older pipe infrastructure. Australia is quite a new country, but over here there's a lot of pipes that have been in the ground for hundreds of years. So it's very, very, very interesting, and the volume is a lot higher as well. So we're not, because we're a critical, like sewage or water is a critical industry. Essential services, sorry. The pandemic is actually a little bit. It doesn't really affect us, but it does in the sense that a lot of people are in the office, so remote cloud kind of access to a solution like ours is actually really helpful. So it doesn't impact us in a negative way.
Oh, that's good to hear. I can imagine that's definitely the case with that sort of advantage there again. And are there any other maybe market opportunities that we haven't touched on that we can expect to see VAPAR taking hold of? Sorry, VAPAR, I should say. VAPAR taking hold.
So what? Yeah, no, all good. So what we're really excited to do is take our cloud technology, because it's been so trained so well in the last 4 years now. We're kind of miniaturizing it. And starting to deploy it on hardware, and that's a really exciting future, because what that will allow is move us closer to rapidly digitizing underground pipes autonomously, so where it doesn't require necessarily like a tethered robot. At the moment they're all tethered back to, so there's like a cable that runs between the camera and an operator. So things like that allow us to inspect more pipes. And that's the real challenge, is that because they're all tethered, because they are manually operated, you reduce the amount of pipe network that you can survey. So yeah, there's some slow kind of exciting technological advances that mean that we can survey more pipe.
Right. I mean, that sounds like in itself would be quite massive for you and for the industry as well. Do you have a time frame for that? When do you think it would you'd be able to achieve that?
Yeah, so we're working on it at the moment. The time frame would probably be like post next year, so 2022, 2023. But it is one of those things that once it's there, there's huge opportunity. So we just need to make sure we get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like it'll be absolutely incredible, and hopefully that's what the next year brings for you. Yeah, absolutely great to hear that. Sounds like VAPAR is making some really big moves in the next coming years, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really exciting space that we're in. I know it's one of those like wastewater industry. How can that be exciting? But it is a really necessary space, and yeah, there's a lot of technological advances in the industry.
But it was great chatting with you. Thanks again for your time.
No problem. Thank you for your time. It's quite late there, so I apologize.
Oh no, not a problem.
Yeah, appreciate it.